Hi, I'm Kevin Greenway from Tenzig. I'm here in sunny Orlando, Florida for the Citrix Summit, and we're at our booth and we're demonstrating a really cool new feature from Citrix, which is browser content redirection using an experimental feature with Chromium Engine Foundation. So we have the Tenzig 5948QC here. This is a Citrix ready certified product. It supports triple display 4K with, as you can see, a plethora of different USB ports. This particular platform runs on our NOS platform, where we integrate the Citrix Workspace app for Linux. And this particular version that we're running on here is the latest 1912 version that came out just before the end of 2019. So just to talk about use cases of browser content redirection, or BCR, for those of you that remember the HDX flash redirection, it's a very similar concept where you're shifting the graphical workloads from a browser session from the virtual machine towards the endpoint. So why would you do that? So reasons that you would do that is if you don't necessarily have any graphics horsepower in the back end, so in the data center or the cloud. If you've got a use case where lots of users are going to these sessions at the same time, then you want to be able to move that workload or that processing power and the graphics overhead from the virtual machine towards the endpoint. Another use case, which is really good for the example that we have at the show here, is where the virtual machine is in the cloud and we have direct access to the internet here. So essentially what browser content redirection will deliver is that where we go to something like YouTube, that content is delivered directly to the endpoint. So better use of bandwidth. We're not pulling down through the cloud or through the data center and then remoting that to the endpoint. So let's go into the demo. The first demo we're going to give is going to Firefox. We're specifically using Firefox here with the fact that Firefox doesn't offer support for the BCR feature. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to a nice heavy 4K video trailer here, Costa Rica in this case. Let's just let the ad play through. And whilst we're doing that, let's bring into view top, which is the task manager on the 5948QC, and we'll also bring in task manager on the virtual machine, where we can see the overhead on the VM. So here we can see, again, because of the fact that we're not leveraging browser content redirection, the CPU consumption on the virtual machine is sitting around 33 to 34%. And obviously that will vary depending on how many vCPUs we've assigned to the VM. And if we drill down into that in more detail, in the details tab, we can see that it's mostly made up of the Citrix graphics process, so the remoting, in the encoding process, and also then Firefox. We are fortunate enough here that we have a vGPU enabled VM. And then if we shift towards the 5948QC, we can see that the CPU consumption is very, very low. In this case, we're just dealing with the graphics remoting. So again, it's the WFICA.real process, and we're decoding that in the graphics hardware in the 5948QC. So that's Firefox as a demo. Now let's switch out to something like Google Chrome, which does offer support for BCR. So if we go to Chrome, we'll notice here in the top right of the browser, we have the browser redirection extension, and that illuminates dependent on whether the BCR functionality is enabled or not. So we've configured Citrix policies to say that if we go to YouTube, then we'll in effect enable the BCR functionality. So we're going to go to that same set of clips that we just previously went to with Firefox. We'll go to identical video clip, and this is where we'll see exactly the shift in terms of workload from, in this case, the virtual machine towards the 5948QC. So as we can see now, let's skip the ad so that we go to exactly the same piece of video. So here we can see that the CPU consumption is between 1 and 2%. We've completely moved that workload from the VM towards the 5948QC. Under details, we can see again very little going on. A small amount of graphics encoding for anything outside the browser, the viewport here. And again, if we look at the task manager now towards the 5948 QC model, we can see it's pegging anywhere between 50 to 60%. This is a quad-core model, so we can essentially consume up to around 400% in the task manager. And here we can see the web container processes that are responsible for the Chromium engine foundation. So just in summary, really cool feature from Citrix. We're really enjoying demoing this new feature at the show, and we welcome you to join us and hope you have a great show.
Hi, it's Dan Swadron from Tenzig Technology here at Citrix Summit 2020. Today we're going to demonstrate our Citrix Teams optimization for Citrix Ready apps. So what we're going to do is we're going to give Kevin Greenway, our CTO, a call. He's on his way back from a session right now, so we're going to give him a call over Teams, over the internal Wi-Fi here in the Summit. So let's give him a call, and we're going to take a look at the enhancements that we get with the Citrix Ready app for Teams. Let's give him a call. So the first thing to notice is that we have in the title bar there that we have the optimized version of Teams for Citrix. Hey Kevin, how you doing? All right. So the next thing we'll take a look at is we can notice that the Teams executable in Task Manager is consuming 0 CPU. So what we're going to do, and that's on the VM. So let's take a look at the local thin client, and we're going to disconnect from the VM. Minimize our virtual session and take a look. And we can see the HDX Teams executable is actually handling all the processing and the offload onto the local thin client. So this is going to give your customers and your users the most optimal experience, because the thin client is actually handling all of the offload of the devices. All right, Kevin. So great talking to you, and have a great rest of the show at Summit.